footage in After Effects and we're ready to track it. One thing that you might notice when you look at the footage in a composition, I've got my timeline, my playhead on the timeline. I'm going to take it back to the start of my sequence, my composition sequence. One thing you might notice is over on the left-hand side, there is an indicator that shows your current frame and it shows the current time, so how many frames, seconds, minutes you are through the sequence, and under that how many frames. One thing you might notice is that it's not at 0. So digital video cameras have what's called time code. Time code is a way of accurately synchronizing the time of one or more video files so that if you're shooting on multiple cameras, for example, you can use time code to figure out when cameras were shot simultaneously or which order they were shot in. So it's a way of kind of tying time to the real world. I don't know if that's a great explanation, but hopefully that will give you a rough idea of what the time code thing is. We don't need to use the time code currently for this project. We're just doing a test. So what I'd really like is for this value here to be 0 when I start at the start of my composition. I want this to be 0. I don't want it to have this weird time code offset thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my composition menu. I'm going to go to the composition settings, and we have an option in there to start our time code at 0. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so now that I've done that, I can see when my playhead is back at the start of my composition, I'm at 0 on my time code, 0 frames, and as I scrub through, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, up to about 22 odd seconds. So that just makes things a lot easier to understand what's happening with the timing there. It can get a little confusing, and this also, the problem with this, if you don't do this, if you want to export your tracking information to Cinema 4D, it uses the timecode value for the frames. So it can really make your Cinema 4D scene quite confusing if you don't set this up properly. Okay, so that's sorting out importing and just zeroing out our timecode. So the next thing we want to do is actually start the 3D camera tracker, and this is super easy. All we need to do is make sure our footage is selected, go to the effects menu, go down to perspective, and at the top of the perspective effects is a 3D camera tracker. So click on that. So what After Effects will do now is it'll start analysing your footage. The good thing is we don't have to do anything at this stage. We just sit and wait, and wait, and wait. Now, hopefully, if you look at the actual camera tracker effects, sometimes it tells you how far through the processing it is, so you can get an idea of how long it'll take. Obviously, the longer your footage is, the longer the duration, the longer it will take to analyze your footage. So there's 2 stages here that the tracker goes through. The first one is analyzing, where we get this blue banner, and what After Effects is doing is it's looking at your footage frame by frame, it's identifying visual areas of interest, and it's tracking them frame by frame. It's seeing where all those points move. Once it's done that, it'll analyze all those different points.
Sorry, Dave.
It's all good. It'll analyze all those different points. It'll calculate where they've moved in relation to each other. That's the parallax thing I was talking about earlier. And then it will try and calculate where the actual camera was in relation to those points when it was shot. So I'm just going to pause this recording while it does that.